I'm learning that men have feelings and can express them, honestly. I found, at least in my journey of purposely scaring myself with almost going to prison. He ended up actually getting his lung removed, which I didn't know was possible to live, and he survived by a sliver of faith.
You have pigs, camels, dogs, cats, kids, cows, goats. Anything you can imagine is in one street.
But I lost all this weight. I grew out my hair. It was for like a very kind of odd character. I got chased by a bear though.
What?
Yeah, on a mountain. I grew up surrounded by graffiti artists and some people, a lot of my early friends either ended up in jail or dead.
Welcome to The Basic Show with Viktorija Pashuta.
All right, hello, beautiful people. Welcome to The Basic Show. We are officially at season 4, themed Dark Matter. And today I have very special guest, Pedro Correa.
Woo!
Thank you for being on the...
I'm going to applaud myself.
I'm very excited to have you on The
so
Basic Show. I know you messaged me and things aligned and we had an opportunity.
Bang.
And I know, if I'm not mistaken, if I stalked your Instagram correctly, you just came back from Canada?
Yes. Yeah, I was at TIFF for this movie that I'm in. Have a little fun role in, Swiped. We premiered over there.
Okay.
I hadn't been to Canada in like 10 years. I was like walking around being like, oh yeah, this is another country. But I like it.
Right?
I like that country.
So that's not your first time you've been there? You've been there before?
No, I grew up a little bit all over, but one of my home bases was Seattle, Washington when I was growing up. And Seattle is very close to Vancouver in Canada. Mm-hmm. And so I spent some time in Whistler when I was like a little baby. I got chased by a bear there once.
What?
Yeah, on a mountain.
Well, obviously you won.
I won. You don't want to see the bear.
You want to see
Trust
the other guy.
me.
Okay, so your mother is a teacher, right? That's why you travel to so many places?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's an elementary school teacher for international schools around the world. So I get some crazy Christmas experiences going and visiting her. Yeah.
So where does she live right now?
She just moved to Bangladesh.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah.
But what a choice. I mean, I'm sure she didn't choose it, right? But
it chose her.
It chose her. I like the way you think.
Yeah.
I one time was in India, actually, and
Really?
it was most surreal experience in my life. Have you ever been there?
No, I haven't.
It's like you land in right into the movie set. On the same road, you have pigs, camels, dogs, cats, kids, cows, goats. Anything you can imagine is in one street. And there was 0 car accidents on the street. So I realized, okay, how even possible to have car accidents in USA and huge highways, and in India you have such crazy traffic and 0 car accidents. But it's an amazing, beautiful country. I'm really happy.
Favorite vibe, just like controlled chaos. Like you can have chaos, but if things work, then it's okay.
And we have another plane, guys. Immersive experience.
This is an ASMR.
I know, it's like soothing. Anyway, back to it. So you went to Canada to premiere the movie that you're in. Can you tell us a little bit what this movie is about?
Yeah, it's about the founder of Bumble, Whitney Wolfe, and her experience, trials and tribulations, very tough ones, starting in a small incubator, a tech incubator that she was invited to work at. And things got a little kind of toxic in that environment, and she had to go through some tough times for sure. But she kind of my favorite part about the movie is that she goes through those crazy times and kind of comes out a winner in her own rights for sure. I'm like a big fan of this book called Obstacle is the Way. I won't shut up about it.
Tell us, what is it about?
It's so good.
Obstacle, say it again?
Obstacle is the Way.
Obstacle is the Way.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
What is it about?
By Ryan Holiday, if I'm not mistaken. If I get that wrong, I'm just committing.
We'll do fact checking.
Fact check on the screen.
Trust you.
But it's about Stoicism, and Ryan, the author, kind of modernizes a lot of Stoicism, and just teaches you kind of not to go on the roller coaster too high or too low, and really kind of just be present in wherever you're at, but also to kind of convert the downs in your life into like opportunities,
Give me an example.
Man, okay. I have an example.
Okay.
Queued right up for you. When I first came to LA to work in movies, it was for acting, right? And I started YouTube when I was a kid, and that was like kind of my way in. That was the only thing I knew how in like the Middle East, for example. A little skateboarding there, yeah, filming myself doing dumb stuff. But I came to LA and I worked my ass off, just auditioning. And I finally got lucky enough to book a really big role. It was like a lead role. I think I was like 22 at the time. It was with two very big actors that I won't name. And I immediately got signed by the biggest agency in Hollywood.
Wow.
It was like, posted on one of the biggest publications in, Hollywood. And for this role, it required me to lose 20 pounds. I was already pretty skinny at the time.
Easy for guys. Easy,
yeah,
I would say.
Sorry. At that time, I could do it. Now I'd be like, oh God.
Forget it, yeah.
Yeah. But
no, thanks, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. But I lost all this weight. I grew out my hair. It was for like a very kind of odd character. And one of the actors in the movie, they ended up having a conflict on their schedule, and so they pushed the shoot date. And it was like, no worries. It was like a month later. Then a month goes by, and they pushed it another 2 months, and then another 3, and then another 4.
That's the worst. Oh my God.
Yeah. And so what happened was the financing fell through because you have to get actors attached to movies for financing. So long story short, I went from this super, super high to this super, super low of being like, oh man, that was like the life changer for me at the time. But obstacles the way. And what that kind of caused me to do was I was like, screw it. I'm just going to make my own movie. And I ended up writing a movie, producing it, and starring in it. And that ended up being My Dead Dad, which we ended up selling to HBO Max. So obstacles the way.
Well, this is incredible because I believe in the expression that says it's not happening to you, it's happening for you, right? Sometimes when you think that could be the worst thing in your life, but might prepare you for your biggest win, right? For your biggest victory. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about the other movie, but since you mentioned My Dead, I want to talk about that movie. It's incredible that you made that movie before you were 30. So you acted it, you wrote it, and you directed it, which is really, really impressive. Can you tell us a little bit of the behind the story? I know that it is based on your real life, right? Real life story. Tell us a little bit inspired, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us how did that movie come along, and what actually moved you to create that movie?
Yeah. Great question. Yeah. So I wrote it, produced it, starred in it, and I worked with my friend who's like a brother to me, who's a director, and it really came about like in such a weird roundabout way. Again, kind of that experience of something that felt so much of a low ended up kind of converting to a high, because when I was in my early teens, my parents got a divorce. I hadn't seen my dad in years and years. He moved back to Peru, where he's from. And we ended up moving to the Middle East because my mom's a school teacher and just kind of bops around, and she got a job there.
Completely different world, right?
Yes, completely different world. I was like, what was I? I was like 12 years old. I was ready to drink and party and all the things you should never do as a 12-year-old. I was so ready for high school.
That was your real life experience, right?
Yeah. And then my mom's like, you want to move to the Middle East one day on the phone? I was in Seattle at the time, and I was like, no. And she's like, too bad.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening for me.
You. There you go.
I wanted to be a pro snowboarder at the time, actually, and because of that, I ended up finding YouTube, which helped me find filmmaking and acting, etc. So
wait, hold on. You said you were becoming a professional, or
arguably.
Okay.
I wanted
aspiring.
Yes. Yeah.
But, on the way. Then.
Yes, on the way.
Yeah.
Sean White Jr. I called myself.
You actually maybe look a little bit, way more handsome, obviously.
Thank God.
Obviously. 5 times. 6
Sean
times.
White's a handsome guy. I don't want to unhandsome him. Anyways, but
canceled.
Yeah, I get canceled because I called Sean White not as handsome as me.
I feel like guys shouldn't be offended when somebody comments on their looks. It's too like, what's the word? Like not voyeuristic. So what's the right word? Too narcissistic.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Okay, back to the snowboard.
It's just turning into therapy, I think.
Really? Have you ever done therapy before?
I have done therapy during this divorce, not to full circle it around.
Okay.
Yeah. My parents broke up. I was in therapy for a second. And quick sidebar on the therapy. We'll get back to that in a second.
Okay.
But
yeah, I have too many
continue.
topics. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
But I moved there, hadn't heard from my dad in years and years. And one day, out of the blue, he called me and was like, "Hey." I was like, "Oh shit, hey."
Wow.
First of all, that was a shock. But the bigger shock was he was like, "I have lung cancer. I'm going to die in like a month," says the hospital that I'm in currently. "I would like you to take over this small kind of crumbling apartment in Peru." And so at that age, I think I was about 13 at the time. And he hung up, and then I assumed that was the last I'd ever heard, would hear from my dad. And I went that entire month being like, wow, okay, I'm going to be a 13-year-old landlord, and I'm never going to get closure with my dad. Two of the lesser fun things, I think, in life.
Wait, to clarify, you were 13 at the time?
Yeah. And so I really sat with that, and I just kind of grieved my dad at that point. In real life, what ended up happening versus what happens in the movie, he ended up actually getting his lung removed, which I didn't know was possible to live, and he survived by a sliver of fate, which is super cool. Because later in life, we sort of got the opportunity to kind of reconnect, and as like adults, although I kind of missed out sort of on that childhood in a way, there was a silver lining. And so I ended up writing this movie about sort of that period of time of how I felt and what was happening and sort of what was supposed to be. And it was such a weird experience having the opportunity to do that. And then for also my dad to see it, where he was like, what the fuck at first, but it was this massive silver lining because we kind of, that was my communication with him.
So how old were you when you reconnected with your dad?
I was probably just before like 18.
Okay.
I
so
was
first time heard from him when you were 13.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, exactly. And then he survived, and I was like, what?
I cannot imagine what was going, through your head and your feelings, because obviously the person hasn't been present in your life, right? And then he is going through some realizations and coming back to you.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? I mean,
no, it was crazy. I honestly was really angry at the time. I was kind of like, had a chip on my shoulder. And then there's a whole other side too, where I didn't want to be in the Middle East as a teenager at the time. So thankful for it in retrospect, but that I just was really angry at life, I think. And really that anger was sadness, I think, but unexpressed. And, it just taught me a lot about, people don't stay here for long, and it's hard to be angry when you're grateful. And once I kind of started reflecting and kind of getting those thoughts out, all the things that I wanted to tell my dad, but in movie form, it was really helpful for me, I think.
May I ask you, I know it's not my place to ask, but did you reconcile with your dad while he was alive? Or
yes. So it not quite like immediately, but like over the span of time. And in a weird way, it was ironically the movie that helped that. He ended up seeing it, and I don't even know if I didn't even speak to him about it for years, like from when I was writing it to then it was sold to HBO.
You only saw the final results, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So then when we sold to HBO, I was like, you probably should watch this.
Wow, this is incredible. I can't imagine like what feelings your dad was going through, right?
Yeah. I remember he sent me a voice memo after watching it, and he has this thick Peruvian accent. He looks like me, except many shades darker. And he was just like...
Hard to imagine.
Yes, just imagine it. Imagine this blank canvas having some sun on it.
I can't imagine that. Okay, now the way you're describing it.
It's really out there. But he ended up sending me a voice memo from WhatsApp and was like, wow, I almost cried
What?
And I was like, you
Almost
almost cried. I was like, you cried, you
Part
son
2
of a
is
bitch.
coming.
Yeah.
Part 2 is coming.
Yeah.
Wow.
He cried.
He cried.
He didn't tell me. He
Oh my
cried. He
God. I mean, I
cried.
can't even imagine that.
I cried.
I can't imagine, that feeling, because if let's say if we take your feelings and, I don't know if the right word, philosophize them, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible for family forgive and experience forgiveness after death?
Oh, I think it's hard. I think it makes it a lot more complicated, which I am so lucky that I didn't need to experience that in that circumstance. But I think a lot of that kind of forgiveness, I mean, really most of that forgiveness is just inside you, really, right? Because if you're resentful towards someone, or if you're hurt by somebody, in reality, if you just have that tool just to kind of shut that off, or kind of overcome it, then what's the difference? You know what I mean? If you've forgiven yourself, if you've forgiven them in your mind, right, then all is forgiven. But I think obviously having somebody say, hey, sorry, you know what I mean?
To their face.
Yeah, is massively, means so much. But I don't know if it's always necessary. And I think that was kind of a learning experience for me, where, again, I'm so lucky that I didn't have to go through that, but it gave me a taste of that, you know what I mean? In a weird way, because I didn't know if I was going to reconnect with him anyway, but I was like, you know what? I really need to process this, and I need to figure this out for myself. And I was able to, and then had the cherry on top of actually having that interaction.
So what helped you?
That's a good,
because I know it's not easy. I probably extremely complicated, because some people, they feel resentment, right? You're not forgiving somebody, you feel resentful. It impacts your life, impacts your relationship, your friend circle, things like that. And it's not easy without a therapist to go through that. So was it something you learned for yourself? Was it someone else's impact on you that helped you to reach that level? Because I know it's not the easiest way to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good question. I would probably again attribute a lot of Stoicism to that. I went down a weird rabbit hole before I read the Obstacles the Way, where I was just this Grecian text.
I love
things,
it. I actually read, I don't want to name again the wrong book, but I think it was Stoicism by Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Marcus Aurelius is a gangster.
Right? I mean, he was a gangster, and the things that he wrote thousands of years ago is still applicable, if not even more nowadays. So what is it? So if we speak, let's say, about that topic, Stoicism, what is it for you, right? Do you think there are any qualities that man lost throughout the time, or any qualities that are forgotten in modern days from Stoicism?
Wow, I love that's such a smart question.
Hey,
it's way above my pay grade.
Let's go deep. I mean, the thing is, I know you don't have all the answers, but I want to know your opinion.
Yeah. I feel like, just as people, at least in my experience, how I feel about myself, I feel like everyone's so obsessed with striving to become the most intelligent person they can. And I feel like that can be the stupidest way to live life. And what I mean by that is that the more logical, the more you need to make sense of everything all the time, it can sometimes get in your own way, I feel like, and I think when I've been at my lowest, or when I've been in those tough corners, I think that just ignorance has helped a little bit, and just sitting down objectively and being like, how can I trick myself into thinking everything's okay?
Ignorance is bliss, right? The most ignorant people are happy. And the more we know, the more you know thyself, the more miserable you are, because you see the bigger picture, what you're missing, what you haven't seen, what's out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you don't need to see everything. You're
getting overwhelmed, right? Life is short, and so much you haven't, possibly will not be able to experience. But going back to the Stoicism, sorry.
No, absolutely. So this isn't exactly, from the text of Stoicism, I'll say, but my version of Stoicism is protecting myself, from just from the outside world, whether that's diet of the brain, or just the interactions you have, or the things you tell yourself. Like these are all like massively important, you know, for me, because there is a flip side of Stoicism where I was really trying to practice that and reading a lot of Marcus Aurelius for a long time, especially in my early 20s when I was like kind of had a little bit more of a down. I got, you know, first breakups, things like that, like serious ones.
You have to go through this.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta.
Not to be a sissy, a wussy.
Okay, well, that's not what I would call myself in my early 20s.
No, I'm not just saying you, but I'm saying if you didn't go through that. Hey, no offense, cancel again.
Take that, Shaun White.
Get back to the serious topic.
But you know, the trick with Stoicism is you can get so numb to everything as well, where I condition myself to really not feel like much of a low, just because I sort of remind myself all the time, you're gonna die, everyone's gonna die, and everyone is guaranteed that same experience. Little depressing.
The same outcome, maybe not the same experience.
Well, yes, exactly.
Right.
Correct. I would agree with that. But on the flip side of that, if you're so conditioned to being okay with or numb to the bad things, you can be numb to the good things too.
True.
And that is something I really struggled with for a long time, where when things were good, I would not fully celebrate because I'd be ready for them to get bad. And that can be so dangerous. And I think actually referencing what I was talking about before of getting that like dream role, like when I was so young and just moved to Hollywood and like being on top of the world and then losing that, you know, for just circumstantially, that taught me to never be too careful, never celebrate too early, you know, like when it's in the bag, but you can get carried away with that too. And then it's like, what's the point? You know, what's the point of anything? I could
compare it more like as a defensive driver. You drive on a highway, and when you're so defensive, you always expect, hypothetically, a crash happen any second. So you're so focused on nothing bad should have happened to you, and you forget to enjoy the ride, right? You enjoy to really ease into the ride. And when you said you getting, you know, protecting yourself and getting defensive, maybe in a way, like you correctly noticed, maybe you are protecting yourself from good things as well, right? From enjoying the moment. Sometimes, yes, things may not last, their success may not last, right? But enjoying that moment, that's why I believe personally that we should be living for the small little moments of happiness. And if we don't celebrate them, you don't give yourself maybe a little bit of encouragement to keep going, right? To do something better, or something that you enjoy more.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. You know, and that just thought right there, it changed my thoughts and my life really more in the past couple of years, where it's interesting because then you reflect on a lot of the big goals you have in your life and things like that. And maybe those things become just a little bit less important. And I'm sort of a little bit of a workaholic, and
a little bit.
and to me, that's terrifying, where I'm like, no, I must, you know, always like strive for 100% greatness and yada, yada. But is it worth it? I don't think so.
I think Salvador Dali one time said, he said, do not afraid to achieve perfection because you'll never achieve it.
I love that.
It's like you always will think, and you can perfect it million times to make it better. But you might not never achieve it. So might just sometimes just make it good enough.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely. And
I mean,
ironically,
weird, right?
Ironically, you end up kind of achieving your own versions of greatness.
Right.
You know, it becomes, you know, the law of attraction, where things kind of come to you mysteriously sometimes when you're a little bit less, you know, I gotta have it and da-da-da, and I must drink sand every morning. And
wow.
Yeah, weird
That
rituals. Okay. Erewhon's really been getting to me. They've been selling me sand and
wow. That sounded actually horrific. Drinking sand. Okay, I already feel. Let me
Didn't that make you just a little thirsty?
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, I was already sweating.
I know, you're incredible.
You guys, I'm
yeah.
But I'm dedicated to the theme.
You are so dedicated to the theme. I almost wore a jacket and I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm literally gonna die. Yeah.
Women, we do everything. We do a lot of sacrifice for beauty.
I give it to you.
That's our fault. Speaking of women, man, I don't know. I'm just jumping from one topic to another. But I want to go back a little bit to Stoicism. What is masculine to you? Do you think men are sensible, and should men be more sensible? Or put that mask off. I'm strong, I'm masculine, I'm always like the protector, I'm always like, lead the way. Do you think men are allowed or been stripped of feelings to feel and be sensible?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really felt right now it's such an interesting time in the world, just generally. I would say, like, when I was making My Dead Dad, for example, I very much felt like you as a man are not really allowed to really feel, you know what I mean, in a public space, and
Right.
and that's, obviously there's exceptions, but still there's that expectation. Now, I'd really need to check in with myself and take a social temperature. I'm not exactly sure that's the case, because I do see, it kind of swings, I think, sociology. And there's definitely, I think a hunger for more like can-do attitude, and less kind of whininess, I think, out in the world.
Just go, just do it.
Yeah, just do it, Nike style.
I'm gonna reach out to Nike.
Yeah. Nike, don't only sponsor this show.
Basic show is for you, up for you.
Yeah. Also Ducati. I'll take any sponsors. But,
I know, right? Hey, I have to do a lot of calls after this episode.
Yeah.
Too
What
much
else?
pressure. Hey,
But
going back to sensible.
yes.
Okay, let me maybe narrow it down. Do you think men, it's okay for men, let's say if they are in a relationship, to open up and share their feelings without the fear being judged, or without the fear that, okay, nobody cares, or I'm expected always to be strong, I'm always expected to to man up, and men don't cry, man's supposed to be this certain way. But I also kind of on the same page with you that I do feel men should be allowed to be more sensible, to have and express more feelings without obviously being feminine. Where's that silver lining, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I think that business has taught me a lot about relationships, like, and just your own relationship to the world, I feel like, because male, female, whatever, anything in between, I feel like that's a little less relevant to me. I feel like it's you have to identify, I think, your team. You know what I mean? Whether it's a friendship or a relationship or anything, or again, being a leader in your community, I think it's important to gauge kind of the social temperature of being like, okay, who's the leader here? Who's, the provider or the nurturer? And those things can flip flop sometimes. But I notice a lot of the times, honestly, in my own relationships, I don't know if relationships is a question, but sometimes that when that becomes unclear, I feel like when you're both trying to play the same team member, things have not worked out as well for me.
What do you mean? Like, let's say when you say play the same team member, saying that you have certain assigned role to you, right? Like your boyfriend relationship, whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. You saying you're not expected to, or
I feel like when you really need to take the lead on something, and you have two people trying to take the lead on something,
I see.
whether it's, you're going into war, or whether you're going to Soho House for dinner for a date.
That could turn into a war.
A total war zone.
With the wrong partner.
Yes. Or with the right partner who you're not taking the social temperature, right? And, maybe I feel like a good relationship is one person is leaning on another at different points. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need a little help. Sometimes they need a little help. And that's, I think, the important distinction for me, at least as a guy, of being like, okay, it's important to express emotions and to be communicative. But it's also important to me to be like a leader and to be strong, for the people around me. But if people need me to be strong in that exact moment, and I want to cry, maybe too bad for 2 seconds, but it is super important to let that cry out nonetheless at some point. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught, where they feel like they're stuck there and they have no outlet. And at least that's not how I live my life.
Well, I feel like if you do bottling feelings right inside and you don't express them, one day it's gonna explode, right? But
Yeah.
do you believe? I guess my question is, what expectations are for you personally in your partner when you do want to experience and share those feelings and be vulnerable, and be, when you're comfortable, be vulnerable in front of that person.
Mm.
What qualities are important? Is it important that the person listens to you, gives you an advice? Like what would be important to you?
Yeah, that's a good question, because sometimes I learned in my early 20s,
Mhm.
not everyone needs advice when they're down.
Right?
I was like a total
Uh-huh.
fixer. I was like,
Mhm.
all right, well, this is the solution. No,
Yeah.
you're good.
Sometimes you just need to listen.
Why are you crying?
Right?
Yeah.
Just to be, I'm that's why
Yeah.
I'm doing this show, because I'm not a really good listener. I'm learning.
Well, you're fooling me.
Hey, I'm learning. I'm
Big
learning.
growth. Season 4, right?
Season 4. Hey, every time
There
I'm
you
trying
go.
to improve and listen and not to lose the train of thought that we started 5 minutes ago. But I feel like,
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
want to get your honest opinion on things, because
Yeah.
a lot of men and my man friends that I'm talking to, for example, they shared with me that, hey, I had a girlfriend and I was always there for her, always helped her, always listened to her. And when there was that moment when I fell down, when I felt weak, and I opened up and I wasn't vulnerable, I expressed it to her, she was just like, okay, just man up, just don't be a wussy, don't be a sissy,
Yeah.
stop crying. And then he felt unheard, and then obviously that wasn't the right partner for him.
Yeah.
And then made me think that there's so much pressure on men to be all these things and to pretend and put a mask on and not share their feelings,
Yeah.
right? Because I
Yeah.
do feel men do have feelings, right?
Men do have
Big
feelings.
surprise. Plot twist.
Oh.
It's like, cancel again. Men do have feelings, but I feel they're more pressured to
Yeah.
express them. And when they
Yeah.
do, they laughed at, right? I don't know. You tell
Yeah.
me. I
No, I
don't know.
totally
I
feel
want to
that
hear
way.
from you. Is it the
I totally feel that way. I'm learning this myself. I'm learning that men have feelings and can express them, honestly, because in my own personal life, I tend to go one way or another. You know what I mean? And I think what we're talking about is sort of a remedy of that. Of like, if you stay bottled up, at some point you're going to need to let it out. And it's like a tire pressure. Products.
undiscreet product placement of a tire
Yes.
and another tire?
Yeah, I swear to God, Ducati sponsored it. Anyways, no,
I
but
wish. See, I'm manifesting.
Yes, manifest.
Real life.
But if a tire's too filled up, it's gonna pop. If a tire's completely no pressure at all, it can't be strong and work. So there's got to be a middle ground, and I think that that's been something that I've been trying to find out the balance to in my life, for sure. And for me, a lot of it is just listening, and a lot of how I learned not to be the fixer all the time, or try to be the fixer when you don't need to be, is when people do that to me and I'm like, oh no, I need you to just listen. Like,
Just shut up. and
I
listen.
already have the solution here. I'm just whining.
Not whining, but I think as human beings and being part of the society, we forgot there's a forgotten art of just being human and react and communicate and listen and understand and have your own. I mean, maybe you don't have to express your opinion every single second, but just to be able to listen, like I said, shut up and listen.
Yeah.
And seems like you do understand your feelings, right? How much of your vulnerability you are willing to put into your artwork?
That used to be the only place I was vulnerable in my artwork. And I think that became tricky for me as a young guy, because then I realized you need more than that, and sometimes art is lonely. So still for me, that's a bit of a safe haven, where now for the first time in my life, I feel so creatively free to where I can write anything. And now I almost seek out that discomfort of putting something on paper and being like, oh, it's going to be so embarrassing when someone reads it or sees it.
Yep.
And if I don't feel that way, then usually I get bored of the thing. So it's kind of a vicious cycle.
I hear it, because it takes a lot of courage. And what you're doing, in my opinion, you kind of taking your ego out of it and you sharing your story. And I know it because I tried to write things on my own. And I know when you try to come up with the most amazing, dramatic, cool story. But if it's you personally not feeling it, if you're not being vulnerable on the page, right, that might not resonate with the reader. And you said this is the first time you have the freedom, right? Aren't you still wary, like if your concept or your project will be commercially successful if you have that level of freedom?
Yes.
Okay, expand.
Absolutely. Yeah, having a commercially viable project is very tricky. I mean, a lot of that comes down to genre, but I feel like with kind of the emotional side of things, something that may not be completely true, but I'm telling myself it's true, is that the more vulnerable you are, the more commercial it probably will be anyway. And by commercial, I mean resonate with other people in a weird way, where if you pour your heart out and it's all over the ground and you're in a public space, people are going to come over and share that experience with you. You know, people gravitate towards that.
But do you think artists nowadays kind of sort of abusing the victimhood, you know, those feelings just to sell them? You know, in a way that they say, let's just make it the most outrageous as possible because we know that fake vulnerability may sell.
That's true. That's true. I think the internet is a big part of that as well. We're so desensitized with everything. You know, my Instagram reel is like the explore page is just cooked.
Well, it's based on what are you searching for.
Don't mostly. Put this on me, okay?
I mean, it knows probably better than you.
Everyone bring up
your
explore page.
I know. I have, I look through a lot of like cats and dogs in my feed, and I'm a fashion photographer. My feed is all cats and dogs. I'm like, oh God, I want to be shown more to the fashion world, and all I see is cats.
That's very sweet. Mine is not.
It's not yet.
I don't even go into what mine is.
I'm sure after this conversation, you might like start getting some weird sales emails and certain products. Ducati may email you when I get a buy.
Just gonna be Ducati and this water brand. But
by the way, it's Japanese.
Is it?
I didn't even know. Yeah.
Made by Mount Fuji, Japan.
Mount Fuji made this.
I'm dying to go to Japan. I can taste that. You know.
Right? Can you taste the Mount Fuji? The sprinkles. The sprinkles of nature. So let me ask you this. I'm gonna rant a little bit. I'm not in the. I'm not from the movie cinema world, movie world, and I'm so sick and tired of franchises of another superhero movie, but at the same time, when I watch indie movies, they're always lacking. They have the sensibility, the feelings, the story, but they're lacking the beautiful picture. When you look at the beautiful glossy picture, you're lacking the story. So as a person who are in the cinema world, how do you think, or how do you see the future of cinematography or cinema, a movie world, right, where you can create projects that have it all, right? That have the story, the beauty, the special effects, but also doesn't lose its heart.
That's a good question. This might be $1 million question for the industry, to be honest.
Send an email to me. I have more of those questions.
I always strive to attempt to get there, I have a long way to go, but I mean, what's interesting about like pretty pictures and stuff, not to go back to the internet again, I feel like things that perform on the internet, if you make them too polished, they will not perform well.
Very good point.
Which I hate because I love craft and I love lighting and I love nerding out about cameras, and sometimes your stuff will do better if it's almost that law of attraction thing. Like it looked like you didn't try, which I hate. I hate that concept because I try so hard.
Maybe just try less harder.
Try a little bit less.
Less. Just give less fucks. Things will flow.
I like that. I need a.
No, but I'm gonna take it back. You know what? Sorry, I'm gonna take it back because we do need true craftsmanship. Like the things you're saying, you are not a perfectionist, but you care about the little details. That's what the cinematography used to be about, right? Yeah. Look at the movies in the 90s, right? They actually went to real locations. They actually wear like no makeup. They had like real beautiful skin. I'm jealous. They actually had real vehicles, real car chase scenes, right? Nowadays, everything is on green screen. Everything is like, now AI is here, right? Everything is just feels so fabricated and we feel desensitized. So in your opinion, sorry, I again interrupted another question that I asked before, but how do you feel and what can be changed to still have that feeling, right? Without being, I don't know, like too indie, right? I guess.
Yeah.
So is it easy to sell these ideas to the executives?
Yeah, that's such a great question. We're going to find out by the end of this podcast. I'm going to be thinking here about this question the entire time.
My viewers like, Viktorija, what are you freaking asking?
Yeah. I'm going to email you in a week. Be like,
I know.
Did you find out yet?
Hate mail. Because like you never let your subjects finish the thought. My sister will be like, finish the thought.
My thought on this is it's a balancing act, I think. I think if you have like a high concept, if you have like high polish, cinematography, if you have a lot of heart of a story, then there's some part of it you need to fuck up a little bit. And by fuck up, I mean reverse the expectation. You know what I mean? Do something wrong on purpose. And I think that's kind of the key, at least for me, where like I if a project is a little too picture perfect, I will be like, okay, what's one like Jenga piece I can pull out? So then all of a sudden it's tilting a little bit and everyone watching that Jenga set is leaning in just like a little bit more. You know what I mean? And I think that's the key to exciting stuff, because when everything's so perfect, when the Jenga tower is so perfectly aligned, it's like, I get it. Like I know what's going to happen. Nothing. Versus something that's a little off, but still beautiful.
That's very interesting. Very How did you use that in your movie, My Dead Dad?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of it was VHS. So something that we were going to do.
I love that part.
Oh, thank you.
I watched it yesterday.
Let's go. I appreciate that.
I did. I love the scene with the Chinese lady. She's watching the Schwarzenegger movie. I love that.
She is the best.
That was so great.
Shout out Shulon Tuan. But
the imperfect part.
Yeah, the imperfect part ended up being the VHS, because we were going to shoot a lot of the kind of dad flashback stuff with our polished, nice cameras and all that. But I remember my grandmother at the time had sent me just like a mysterious DVD. Which now is like vintage.
How to even watch a DVD now?
Okay, so this is a problem. At the time, I like just got the new MacBook or something, and I was like, let me put it in. What the fuck? I was like, what do I do with
Every
this?
year they're changing it.
Yeah. I was like, do I go get a vinyl player? No, that doesn't work.
Can I charge my phone?
Yeah. I'm just putting it in the I ended up having to find someone with a really old laptop and put it in, but it was all VHS footage from my childhood, and that came at like the perfect time before we shot the movie, where I was like, what if we use...
Wait, was it real footage?
Yeah, so there's like
thinking about it.
There's an interstitial of it that's real, and then we needed a little bit more of it, so we tracked down like a similar camera, and then we shot a little bit more, so it kind of like bridged those two things together. And that's a perfect example of taking one Jenga piece out of the tower. Now it's a little off, and you're like,
I love that.
Is that real? Is that fake? I don't know. I always strive for a moment like that in any movie I make, for sure.
That was really nice touch, actually.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably what I would imagine feels you excited, right, about filmmaking.
Yeah.
Well, my next question is, what makes you excited the most nowadays? What brings you joy
in life?
Yes.
Scary things, but not scary movies. Or like Hollywood horror night. Someone invited me last night. I was like, I'm too scared.
To what?
To what? Hollywood horror night. They have like in Universal, like the giant. Yeah.
Somebody chasing you with the chainsaw and you pay for it.
I can't handle it.
Okay, so you said you like scary things?
But yeah, not like boo scary, but like things that are like way out of my comfort zone, or things that I think are like nerdy, or like things that would make me be like, oh, well, I don't do that. I'm not that kind of person. Like for me, this last summer, I was kind of going through a next chapter of my life, and I had a friend invite me to a rave.
To a rave?
To a rave.
I've never been to a rave. A lot of sweaty people too close to each other.
With that leather, you would be dead. Let me tell you right now.
I'm done.
Yeah, I would be with the bottom half here. But my friend invited me to this rave, and it wasn't his first time inviting me to this rave. I was like, I don't rave. I don't do that. You know what? It's not. That's bizarre.
I can see you in the rave.
I've changed. Raves have changed me.
Raves changed me.
I went to the
The quote
Long
of the
Beach.
episode.
Yeah. I went to the Long Beach. I don't even know what it was called, but it was
Yeah.
some giant rave. The minute I got there were people hopping fences and yada yada. There's somebody was getting pulled out on a stretcher, and I was like, where am I? I was like,
You just
what
needed
is
to feel
happening?
alive.
I needed to feel alive.
You needed to feel the danger in you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the danger.
Danger,
yeah,
that is to feel
exactly.
alive. I
The
see.
scary is the danger I'm looking for. Really, the danger is a better way to put it. Because when I was young, that's what I was accustomed to. You know, I grew up surrounded by graffiti artists and some people, a lot of my early friends either ended up in jail or dead and things like that, so when I started to become more of a workaholic and kind of only focus on work, I lost a part of that. I lost kind of like a sort of danger in me, and was like, dang, now I guess I have to write all these things and make them up. I'm trying to still find that danger as like an adult man without getting.
You'd be like
thrown in
Shakespeare if the
jail.
legend is true that he wrote about things or places he's never visited or experienced. But you could be non-Shakespeare. You can actually experience them and write. What can be more perfect for a script than true life?
That's
right?
my goal. That's my goal. And well, this happened to me with the rave thing. I said yes to the rave thing, and then it set me on a whole long journey, and I ended up making this crazy project, like pretty much stalking these DJs who wouldn't let me into their rave. It's a long story.
New
yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. That's actually a good point and advice for our viewers that always try something that scares you.
Yeah.
For me, that thing was fencing. I tried one time
Fencing, like with a sword?
Yeah, fencing with the sword. And it was like the most bizarre experience in my life because first of all, I should have have my own mask, but I just used the one that was there.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a cage.
Did you have a mask? Did you have a mask at
You have
home?
to wear the whole...
I know, but you said use your own mask.
Use
Did you
your
have
own
one
because it's obviously new.
Oh, okay, I got it.
It was just like a lot of people.
I imagined your mask with those sunglasses
a lot
on.
of fighters went through
My mask.
with that mask, and I just remember there was like a sword inside of the mask, and my whole life like passed through me. That was the first and last time I did it, but then it put things in perspective for me. Just like do something that scares you at least once and may open up certain truth about yourself that you didn't know.
I like that. This is ambitious, but do something that scares you once a day.
Once a day. Wow.
Once a day
is
is what I like. I mean, I'm not up to that. I need to do better on that, but it's not once a day, once a week, once a month, not once in a life. I think that is so important to do all the time. And also what it does is it trains you. It conditions that fear inside you to be normalized. So you're less afraid, and you become a more courageous person. I found, at least in my journey of purposely scaring myself with almost going to prison.
Almost going to prison. Through the rave, you found your way. Oh my God. Through the rave, you found your way.
That's nice. Marcus Aurelius, we don't need him anymore. Through the rave, you found the way.
Well, on this beautiful note, I would like to wrap up this episode. Today we had Pedro Correa.
Woo.
Please look out for the new movie.
Yeah, Swipe.
Swipe.
Yeah.
Check it out. I know this episode is going to probably come out a little bit later than the movie's up, but check it out where people can find that movie.
They can see it on Hulu, Disney Plus. Check it out. I love you.
Check it out, guys. Well, thank you so much for being on The Basic Show.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.